Yes, I have a special guest with me, Ena Friday. Ena Friday is going to tell her story. You in for a treat. Ena is a published author, as I stated, and this is her book.
I see.
This is her book.
Breaking the silence.
Breaking the silence. Breaking the silence. All right, Ena. We on episode number.
All right. Thank you so much, Janice. Thank you for this. Like you said, it's no coincidence. And I think when we first met, it was just God ordained. I'm so grateful for all the great connections. And yes, Candace has, when we were writing, when I was getting this book together, she said, Ena, you are a resilient catalyst. So that's where this name came from, our amazing coach, Candace. And she made me see where that is actually true. And I believed it. And it's been something that I tell everybody now because my story, Breaking the Silence, if I had to name this episode, I would say, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real about your life. I think the worst thing that happened in my life was not being true to who I was, not being true and believing who God said I was, even when I wasn't totally walking with God, because there's a part of my life where God was not a part of me on my aspect. And we know that God, if he has his hand on you, he's going to be with you, even if you're not ready. Right. And
Right.
so God is going to get the glory out of everything that he desires. And I thank God that he kept his hand on my life because as a young child, like you said several times, a young child being sexually abused, I was actually in the 3rd and 4th grade. And I went and did a speaking engagement last month. And I told the women, can you imagine carrying the weight of being sexually abused by a family member? And then you see this person periodically in your family, around your family, and you're just like, what in the world? And you don't even know, but you're young and you carry this on. Mm-hmm. So 3rd grade, you're in elementary, then you go to junior high, then you go to high school. And I was 16 when I finally told my mom. But even when I told my mother, because of all the years that had passed, and she believed me, and she went and tried to get help, and they said it was past the statutory limitation, which I think is crazy, that anytime somebody comes clean about their past when it has something to do with being sexually abused, I don't think it should be any limitations. So we're going to keep praying about that. I was still carrying around all the hurt and trauma all my life. Elementary, junior high, high school. I'm now in my preteens. I'm a young adult, and I have I was married before, and I got married at a young 19-year-old, as a young 19-year-old girl. And the reason why I say keep it real is because I was running from something, looking for something in all the wrong places to fill those voids, to make me feel better than I thought of myself. So I could hear people saying things about me that made me feel good, but wasn't good for me. Right. So I hadn't totally I wasn't healed because I hadn't dealt with it. And my ex-husband really didn't know to the extent of what happened to me. So I'm 19, I get pregnant and I have children, and I'm married for 13 years, And all of these years, the way I was treated and talked about in a marriage, it was like I didn't even care because I already thought of myself as no good. I already saw myself as not being worthy or valuable or loved or worthy enough to even be in anything, whatever healthy looked like for me. So it was all the trick of the enemy anyway. And we know that. I know that now. But back then I didn't know it. And as I got older, I started learning a little bit more about myself. And I had to start learning about, how do I deal with this? Because if I continue to hide behind this trauma and not really deal with the issue and the things that it has caused me in my life, whatever I get in my relationships, my marriage, my life, everything that I'm attached to is going to be affected by me and the way I carry myself and the way I look at my own self. And I was a people pleaser. And that's not good. I was a people pleaser. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be included. I was searching, but I wasn't searching for the right thing. I wasn't searching for God's help to help deliver me from the trauma experience, to show me that you're not your past. You can have a loving relationship, a loving marriage, someone who values you, someone who sees that you are worthy, and they're going to treat you the way that I say they should treat you. So a lot of years of just going through learning
Mm,
how to be true to myself. And I think the biggest thing when I say that I'm a resilient catalyst is that I pressed on and I wouldn't stop because I knew that God has something bigger for me inside of me, not for
yeah.
the world yet, not for what I'm doing now, but just embracing who I am so that
Right.
when God brings me that husband, right,
Mm,
into my life, I'm going to already know if you're for me or not. Like, I'm not
right.
going to just settle because I did a lot of settling. And so, when I finally surrendered and said, God, I want to be whole and I want to be healed and I want to
Mm,
stop hiding and I want to be real about my life. I want to be real. And when you
mm,
can be real about your life, that means that you're no longer ashamed, right? You're not ashamed.
mm,
You don't walk around with guilt. You don't walk around with condemnation, condemning yourself for something that you had no control over. And
mm.
so I began to see myself in a brighter light. Like, you know what? That sign that I thought used to be on the back of my head that told everybody that I was a dirty girl. That is what I believe. I believe that everybody that saw me saw a sign on the back of my head that said I was a dirty girl because
Wow.
I was tampered. I
Mm,
was, I was I was abused. And so I thought that everybody knew it. You know, that is nothing but the enemy because nobody knows that until you tell
right.
them. So I
Right.
thought that, Janice, for most of my young adult life, 20s, even going into my 30s, this is what I thought about myself, that I was no good, that I was
Yeah.
damaged, and there was no hope for me. So it showed in the things and the relationships that I allowed to come into my life. And I got sick
Mm.
and tired. You know what they say, Janice? When you get sick and tired of being sick and
Sick
tired.
and tired.
Yes, I was so sick and tired.
Mm,
I tell people now when they ask, when I tell my story to give them a visual, I said, if you remember that woman in the Bible, the bent woman, the woman that was bent over for all those
mm.
18 years, right? So when I
Wow.
did the calculation, Janice, of the time that I was molested up until the time that I practically surrendered and started seeking God, it was around 18 years.
Wow.
That was profound. It was about 18
Wow.
years. And that is when God began to lift me up and began to change the way I walk and change the way I talk and change the way I thought. My relationship with God was fulfilling now. And so if you are, a lot of women I found that I talked to have past of being sexually abused in their past, and they haven't told a soul. And some of these women are very much older than I am. They
Mm,
haven't
mm,
told one
mm.
soul, and they take it to their graves. But then you wonder why their relationships are not healthy, right? You wonder
Right.
why they're not. It's not a fulfilling marriage, and this is you have a marriage group, and you're all about marriage. So when you think about if you're not true to your life and who you are, what
Mm,
happened to you, how can you have a flourishing marriage, a thriving
exactly.
marriage? How can you be intimate with your spouse? Because now your spouse doesn't even know why, sex is not important to them or to you.
Right.
Like, I don't
Right.
want it, or you're standoffish, certain things trigger you. So these are things that I had to get real about, to talk to understand that if I was to ever get married again, I need to make sure that I'm able to be true and honest about my life. And if I have triggers, thank God I don't have triggers anymore. But I used to
And
have triggers, right? Because I
mhm.
wasn't free.
Right.
So the
Right.
triggers were free. They came frequently because in the back of your mind, you're already thinking about what happened to you because you're not healed. But when
Right.
you're healed, those thoughts don't come up the way they used to because you
Mhm.
put them in their place and you no longer are living your life based on the lies of the past. So when I got free and started telling my truth to whoever, God started putting people in my path, and I would just boom. Janice, it would just come out. I don't even know why it would come out. But God
Mm.
was preparing me for the journey that I'm on now. And I didn't know that. So I tell women all the time, if you are not healed from any abuse, anything of your past, it doesn't even have to be sexual abuse. Maybe it's a
Mhm.
past failed marriage. Maybe it's just how you see yourself, but you haven't dealt with it. You have to get real with these things. Otherwise, you're not gonna be authentic in who you are. You're
Mm.
gonna be able to change who you are for who that next person that you meet, whether it's a friend, somebody you're talking to, a relationship, maybe you're dating someone. You're gonna flip and change to who you think you need to be for that person at that time because you're not healed. So getting
Mm.
healed and getting free and being true and keeping it real about your life and the things that you've endured is so key in you being free in who you are totally in all aspects of your life. And
Yes.
and that's what I found, Janice. And I thank God because little did I know when we were writing our book that God was still working on some more in me that I didn't know. Right. So writing my book, breaking the silence, I had women calling me and breaking their silence. I want to break my silence with you. I want to break my silence with you. And I said, whoa, this is big. This is huge. And I started seeing
Yes.
that so many women are carrying this load that they don't have to.
To
We
suffering in silence.
suffering in silence over something that you did not have any control of. This
Mhm.
wasn't you didn't ask for this. You didn't,
Right.
you're a child. And even if you wasn't a child, maybe you were raped. You didn't ask for this. We have people out here that do things and hurt good people. And
Mm.
so one way, Janice, I learned how to deal with this. I said hurting people hurt people. And I said, I wonder how many people that were molesters been molested.
Mm.
I started seeing that in another way because I said, you know what?
Mm.
That could be very true as to why some people are hurting and have been
Right.
hurt. Right.
Right.
So I
Right.
began to just focus and I changed my perspective.
Picture.
Changing your perspective on things in life is going to help. So I thank God for my healthy marriage, for my loving husband, because God did bring somebody in my life that understood me, that understood, and I didn't have to be afraid to talk about it, even though I'm not held bondage by that any longer. But you still need to know because it's
Mm.
important because you just never know. And I just said, you know what? If I'm going to be true and keep it real, then it doesn't matter if I desire to be married again, because I always desired marriage, but I wanted it the way that God saw it. And so
Right.
I'm just so thankful to God and all that He's doing now because once I got free, God began to use me. And that's another reason why you want to be able to keep it real because God is waiting to use you in a capacity that you have no idea. Like now, I'm a
Okay.
licensed ordained minister. Like, who would have ever thought, right? So now I get to minister to God's people about being whole and living a victorious life and living your life the way that God says that you're supposed to live your life, not living your life on your own terms. And that's
Yes.
how I used to live. I used to live
Wow.
that way. So I get to go around speaking to women, or maybe somebody have something. They say, hey, can you come speak? And I told God, I said, wherever you send me, whatever you have me to do, my story for your glory. And that's all. Whatever we go through, once we understand it has nothing to do with us,
Us.
it has nothing to do with
Nothing.
us. It
Right.
has everything to do with God and his kingdom and helping build his kingdom. And how can we bring people into the kingdom if we are not true about our past, the things that we've been through? Because once we show them, not show them us, but we show them the God in us through the healing that he did inside of us. And he set
Yes.
us free to live for
Yeah.
him. And that's all it's about. The only thing that will last is what we do for Christ. And so
Exactly.
now I get to I get to do ministry
Mm-hmm.
because God chose me. And my
Mm.
ministry is showing people that God can heal you from those past wounds, from those hurts. It doesn't matter because I may have shared one thing that I had to overcome, but there was a lot that I had to overcome.
Mhm.
So God told me, you're going to have to be vulnerable. You're not going to be able to just sit and look cute and think that you're just going to, no, you're going to have to be vulnerable in some situations because
Mhm.
some women need to know that you can be vulnerable regardless of what you went through because you're
Right.
walking healed. And when you
Mhm.
walk healed, you know that it doesn't matter what you've been through, right?
Wow.
Because now it's like, oh, I get to be an ambassador for Jesus Christ. That's all.
Yes. 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 Wow. That is
Yeah.
so that is so powerful, Ina. And um, when you're talking about women suffering in silence, this is so, so true.
Mhm.
Um, because I had someone reach, I don't even know them, they reached out to me in their email
Mm.
and was talking. I mentioned something about suffering in silence and how a lot of women today, um, even in their marriage, are being affected by what happened to them as a child. You bring
Yeah.
into your adulthood, but you don't understand why. So she reached out to me. But the thing is, what would you say to the person that are suffering in silence? And like you said, they have been suffering for years. And
Years.
the thing she said, I don't want to tell anybody because I don't want to offend the accuser.
You, Janice, that is the number one thing that you hear, and it's a lie from the pit of hell. We got to put the devil back where he belongs because people always say that is what I've been hearing. And I knew you were going to say that. I don't want to expose or offend
Pose.
the accuser, and I don't want to hurt my parents. I don't want to hurt this person. But what about you?
What about you?
What about you and your freedom? Those people that you are trying to protect
Hey,
from what has happened to you, they're walking in their freedom.
right.
The exposer, the one that you need to expose, this is what I told a group of ladies. I said, the moment that you continue to hide that, think about your nieces and nephews and cousins that's coming up in the family that
Yes.
may be affected and be in communicate or around that person. You
Right.
are doing a disservice to everybody else that you're connected to as long as that person is still around, because that
Mhm.
person may still be out doing the same thing to the next person. And because you are so worried about offending somebody, my God, you're worried
Mm.
about offending somebody, but you're worried about hurting the family. What about you?
What about you?
What about
And I'm
ask
talking about,
ask
and I'm
yourself?
talking about these are fully grown women, fully
Exactly.
grown that
Yes.
have children.
Yes. So you have children. You're grown. You have children that will have children, and you're not willing to let out what happened to you for protecting someone else, but you weren't protected.
But you're not protected.
And the reason why you weren't protected is because the person that came before you, they didn't tell.
They didn't
And the
tell you.
person that came before them, they didn't tell. So you know how they say, we don't really like to call it generational cursing, but let's call it
Right.
what it is, right?
Right.
It
Exactly.
is being passed down because people are not being bold enough to open their mouth and say, you know what, this is about my freedom. And I want to protect everybody in my family from this. Now, I don't have to
Mm.
walk around with hate in my heart because we don't want that. But
Right.
what you want to do is get people free,
Right.
because you may speak something and that person may be able to get help and get free, but you're also going to heal yourself. Because I had somebody just last week say to me, my goodness, this is so real. But guess what I did? I finally told my father, this is a grown woman. I finally told my father, and I feel so good now. And I'm telling you, the weight of carrying that is heavy. It's
Mm.
heavy because you
Mm.
have no one. You feel like you're walking around. Of course, you're suffering in silence.
Right.
You're carrying this, you're dealing with it on your own. You don't have anybody to just let it out to because you're suffering in silence. Suffering in silence. can be so detrimental. That's where depression set in. That's where suicidal thoughts set in. I had contemplated taking my life 2 times because
Wow.
I was suffering in silence. The last time that I wanted to take my life, I took my kids to a library, and they were in about maybe middle school, and I walked them to the library because I already was planning it and contemplating how I was going to do it, when I was going to do it. I had this thing figured out. So now I was trying to get somewhere where I can make it right in my heart when I go, that my kids will be all right. So I went to this library and I sat down. I said, you guys go pick any books you want. Let's just have a good day. I want y'all to read. So I was telling myself that I spent some time with my kids, and then tonight it was going to be it.
Wow.
I went to this library. I kid you not. I kid you. My God, I went to this library, sent my kids over to look at books, and I sat there and I kind of just was dealing with what I was going to do that night. And this tall man walks past me, Janice. Never
Mm.
seen him before in my life. Don't even know. He was a bright man. I said that was nobody but an angel. He comes past, and I'm sitting down at the table, and I look up, and he walks past. Janice, then he backs up and he stops. And he said, God told me to tell you everything is going to be all right.
Wow.
Janice, if that was not from God,
Mm, mm, mm,
that was not from God, because
mm,
I was
mm,
done. I was so tired. I was so tired of my life. I was tired of the things I was dealing with. I was tired of getting hurt. I was just ready to go. I'm like, I don't
mm.
know. But if my kid's going to be all right, then I'm good.
Right. Mm, mm,
Being able
mm,
to
mm,
listen and understand that that was nobody but God
mm.
saved my life. That saved
Yes.
my life.
Yes.
Saved my life.
Yes.
And I thank God for that. In that moment, from that moment on, is when I said, you know what? I have got to change the way I'm doing life. And the
Mm.
first step is I have got to get in front of God, and I got to get in somebody's church consistently. And I got
Right.
to start talking about this thing. And that was the stop suffering in silence, because although I told my mother when I was 16, I still wasn't healed and I was faking
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
I faked my life. I could change in a moment. Nobody knew I could smile and be hurt no man's.
Wow.
So yeah, that suffering in silence, it has to be dealt with. You got to find somebody that you trust. Find
Yes.
somebody you trust. Start there. Break the silence, because I always say it's breaking the silence. Start there. Talk to them about the issue. Talk to them about this. Talk to them about everything that happened, because you got to get it out. Because what that's doing is you're accepting that that happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get all the way to the root problem, the root. And the root is I was a child and somebody molested me
Mm-hmm.
against my will. And they hurt me. They hurt my body. They hurt my mind, my spirit, my soul. You have to get real with that. Then you have to begin to allow yourself to feel every emotion, anger, right? Resentment, frustration, all those feelings got to come out. Because if they don't come out, you're going to be stuck.
Stuck.
And it's okay
Wow.
to feel. It's okay to be angry. Jesus was angry. You can be
Right.
angry, but you don't have to allow it to turn into hate. But
Right.
be angry. But in the anger, what you're going to start doing is loving on yourself, because
Mm.
I didn't deserve this. And why I didn't deserve this, I need help now, because I don't want this on me no more. And I mean, you got to get real. And I'm never going to tell people, for some people that's hard and they need counseling, go to counseling.
Go to
I
counsel.
always
It's
tell people,
okay.
go to counseling, therapy. It is perfectly fine to get what you need. Some
Yes.
people need it. Some people just need a listening, willing, trusted ear.
Right.
Whatever it takes to break your silence, to stop suffering in silence. And you have to think about yourself. We think about everybody else, but we don't think about ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Ena, I just can't even imagine being that young.
Mhm.
You think about how old is your granddaughter?
Just turned 6. She's in the kindergarten.
I think about my granddaughter. I
Yeah.
just can't imagine them
Yeah.
having to have to go through that,
Mhm.
to go through that.
So
And that's why wouldn't you say that it is so important that we talk to our children now, not
yeah,
just our boys, but our girls,
that's right. You got
and make
and
them
stop
aware.
and make them aware and stop calling their private parts nicknames.
Right,
Call their private parts what they are. Because
right,
when you start doing that, do you think for one moment the predator is going to call it by a thing? It's going to call it a
right,
nickname.
right.
So you need to call it what it is and
Mhm,
explain to them. Talk to
mhm,
them. I've been talking to my granddaughter,
mhm.
I don't know how long, in ways that I want her to understand. I need you to speak up. I need
Right,
you to be bold. Don't you hold anything in you. If something's
r
bothering you, let's talk about it. I
about it.
even told my son and his daughter, his wife, I said, when she comes home and she's had a bad day at school, don't get upset with her because she's crying. That's the
Find out
worst thing you
why.
can do because you never know what just took place, right? So
Right,
you want to sit them down and say, baby, tell me all about your day. It's all right.
right.
Let's talk about your day. What
Mhm.
happened? What has you upset? What have you feeling this way? And I'm right here. And if you just need me to listen, and sometimes you have to let them get it out the way they need to.
Need to.
Don't shut them
Th
down
that
because
is so good.
maybe they
Mm,
used a cuss word. Okay,
mhm.
maybe they did. That is not the time to shut them down because in that curse word that came out, you might find something that you need to hear behind that cuss
Mhm,
word. But
mhm.
because you shut that word down so quickly, now they don't want to tell you
Now
nothing.
they shut down on you.
Yes, yes. It is so important to talk to your little ones. And like you said, not just the boys, but there are boys being molested as well.
Yes.
And it's harder, I think, for the men and boys to talk about it because they're a man and they
Right.
don't want their manhood to be
Mhm.
destroyed by somebody knowing this. But we
Right.
have to begin to talk to our boys and girls at a very young age. Tell
Mhm.
them why it's not okay for their brother to be in the bathroom with them while they're using the bathroom. Tell
Right.
them why their brother can't see them taking a bath. Stop putting the girls and the boys in the tub together,
Exactly. Come on,
right?
come on.
Come on, we gotta deal with this thing. This is where curiosity starts.
Starts.
So if you
Exa
start doing that, you're telling them that this is all okay.
This is okay.
Well, it's
Exactly.
not. You're a girl and this is your sister, and we're going to respect each other's privacy. And when
Mhm.
I go in the bathroom, you need to stay out. I told
Right.
my granddaughter years ago when she was getting potty trained, I said, Mimi is going to tell you, you're going to learn how to wipe yourself properly. And if you need help, you got to only have certain people to help you.
Exactly.
Everybody's not going to be able to help you. So I need you to learn this now. Because what
Mhm.
happens is they go somewhere, they
Mhm.
don't know how to wipe themselves.
Mhm.
Now you've opened the door for somebody else
To say it's
to come in
okay.
and say it's okay. And they need to know what is a good touch and what is not a good touch. Who
Right.
touch you here, who don't touch you here. And even if it's your parents, what kind of touch is that? Because we got to keep it real. It happens from your parents too,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And they got to start knowing that it's okay to talk to other people outside of mommy and daddy.
Right.
You know what I can't stand? Whatever goes on in this house stays in this house.
Stays in his house.
Some things
Exactly.
happen in the house.
Exactly.
Some
Were
things
there ever times were there ever times you was like, "Okay, today Imma tell my mom."
it was. I
Then
had
you
a lot of
didn't.
those. I had a lot of those days, but what happens is the predator who's close, because a lot of times, most of the times, is somebody close to you and your family. They know your patterns, they know your family, they know what makes your parents upset, they know how you get in trouble already. They already know these things. So they use those same things to keep you from telling. You know, if you tell your mother, she gonna get you because you know your mama don't play. Because my mama didn't play. My
Right.
mama, you get it, you gonna get it, right?
Right.
So you better not, because you know how your mama is. She ain't
Mm-hmm.
she gonna be mad at you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, so these things they prey on what they already know about your family. And so if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a good relationship, or it's strained, or it's not so, you're not so bold, because you got some young kids that's very vocal.
Mm-hmm.
Predators don't mess with vocal kids,
Mm-hmm.
because vocal kids is going to speak up.
Don't
They're
speak
going
up.
to tell it. They're going to run and tell it. And they
Mm-hmm.
might tell you off in the midst.
Right.
You have shy kids,
Yes.
quiet kids. And that was me. I was very shy, and I was very quiet, and I was very kind of just reserved. I was like that as a young girl. And
Mm-hmm.
so those kids are preyed on and easier
Right.
to be persuaded. So that's why I've been working with my granddaughter about being bold. You girl, you got this. Come on,
Yes.
girl. Do your thing. Go on here. Let's do a live. That's why she did all those lives for Black History Month. Because I wanted her to know that she had a voice and people paid attention to her voice, whether she knew that I was trying to show her that there was
Right.
power in her.
Wow.
Right? So things are done intentionally when you're raising kids. And I always tell my son, don't don't raise your voice. If it's something that you don't like that she's done, you got to bring it to her. You got to talk to her in love. And
Right.
maybe it is something that you're upset about, but that's not the time, because your
Mm-hmm.
kids know how to shut down. And we see kids nowadays don't tell their parents nothing.
Nothing. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it starts so young. And I told my kids when they were young. I told my kids when they were young what happened to me. I did it on purpose. They needed to know.
Right.
They needed to know. And I
Right.
reminded them. I reminded them because I needed them to know that it's okay to tell me. And if
Right.
something ain't right, come to me. And if
Come
you can't come to me, who else do you have in your life that you can talk to? Stop telling
exactly.
your kids that they can't talk to anybody else.
Exactly.
They should have
Exactly.
they should have a support system, even young. They need a support system. And sometimes it's just not you. Parents, get over yourself. I mean, just think about you, your life growing up. Did you have other people that you confided in that you wouldn't talk to with your parents?
That's
I had
good.
other grown women that I learned to confide in because I felt more comfortable, because I was
Mhm.
still afraid of what would happen to my family. I was even told, I'm gonna kill your mama. I'll
Mm.
kill your fam, I'll kill your mom. Right. So when your kids are being told this, they should still
Wow.
have somebody else to go to. It's just for, it's for their protection. And praying over your kids, and just send out sit we don't kid people don't sit down at dinner table no more and eat with their
Exactly.
family. They let the
Exactly.
kids go off in their own rooms, and they go on their social
With
media,
them with those,
them phones.
tablets and phones,
Yes,
and they're exposed to so much
so
that
much.
makes them so curious.
It does. And it brings them away from the family attachment.
Right.
It makes them take them into this fantasy world.
Mm.
We have to take that back. We should have power, setting time limits and saying you're only going to be on this for this much time. And then when you are, I need to know. You need to block certain apps and things that
Right.
you go to, because these predators is out here and they finding their way through these
Exactly.
apps. So they're more clever. They're doing all of this, what is it, sex trafficking, grabbing
Yes.
kids and telling kids to meet them in certain places. Come on. So it's we
Exactly.
got to deal with it in the beginning. Why? And that's why
Ye
it's important for the parents who's still dealing with the abuse that happened to them and they haven't told a soul, but now they have children.
children.
So that means you haven't even been talking to your kids.
Right.
You're not real with them if you haven't told them about what happened to you. So,
Exactly.
and then you wonder sometimes why certain parents react the way they do. It's out of fear, not out
Mm-hmm.
of knowledge. It's a
Mm-hmm.
fear move because in the back of your mind, this happened to me and I ain't told nobody, but what's going on with my child in there? So now you're
Right.
reacting because you haven't dealt with your own issue. And so now
Mm.
you're reacting to thinking you're protecting them because you're covering up what
Mm-hmm.
happened to you instead of exposing it, dealing with it, healing from it, and sitting your children down and saying, look, this is real out here.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Woo. Wow. Wow. This has been great, Ena. I
Welcome.
don't even have a question. And you have covered, wow.
Yeah, I
You
just,
have
Janice,
covered everything.
when
Wow.
I tell you I'm so passionate about this. I'm so passionate about helping God's people get free, get free from this. It
Wow.
tormented my life for so long. And to just know that, wow, where was I? Where
Mm.
was I? Why did I allow this to take me captive this way? And that's why I said, God, my story for your glory.
For
Because
your
people
glory.
are going to get healed and they're going to want to say, I'm ready. I need to start. I don't have to hold on to this. So I get so passionate that I just say, God, I know it's you because he told me the reason why you're gonna have to be vulnerable is because people need to see real people that I've
Mm.
healed. Not that you healed yourself. This was not a self-healing,
Right.
that God has healed and delivered to be able to go help his people.
Mm.
That's all. That's where I'm at. And I said, I can't be like nobody else. I just have to
Exactly.
be who God has called me to be. And whatever path he has me on, that's the path that I want to be on. And
Yes.
this is so near and dear to me. And if I wasn't healed, Janice, I could not do this. There's no
Exactly.
way I would be able to
Exactly.
talk about this in any capacity. But
Exactly.
if people get my book, Janice,
The-
they get that book, they're going to have my story. Plus, they're going to have prayers. They're going to have journaling. And you're going to have things that you can sit down and start talking to your family, your children, maybe your aunts, maybe I had a woman tell me her mother got healed by my book. And this is a
Wow.
grown woman.
Wow.
I have women
Wa-
telling me, thank you. Thank you for writing this book,
Wow. You breaking the silence.
breaking the
You
silence.
you breaking the
Breaking the
silence.
silence. We breaking the back of the devil.
Yes.
We taking back
Yes.
our power.
Yes.
Not gonna
Yes.
listen to the lies of the enemy no more. It don't matter what happened to you. What matters is what you do with it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. How can they get this book, Ena?
They can get that book. They can go to my website at enanichelle.com and you can order it from my website. It is also over on Amazon and it's all over. It's in the UK, it's at Barnes and Nobles, it's everywhere. So if you want to get it, you can follow me on Facebook and we can talk, or you can go right on my website at enanichelle.com and grab you a copy.
Yes. And you'll thank her later for this book. It's a book that you read and you can't put down. It's almost like it's almost like a documentary.
You said that. You said it's like a movie. You told me
It's
that.
like
You was like, this is like a
it's like
movie.
it's like a movie. And eventually, Ena, you're gonna come back to me and tell me what door has been open for
My.
you.
I will.
Yes.
I will.
Yes.
I'm so grateful. Like I said, God has been opening these doors, cracking these doors open. Like I'm on a radio station, a Christian radio station Joyful Noise Radio. It's out of Florida, Pensacola, Florida. And I'm on every Monday night talking about how to live a victorious life. I met her. She saw one of my reels. I did an interview with her. And then she saw a reel and she's like, we need you. And so now I'm on their radio show every Monday. They actually had me come and speak at their church. I think it was their anniversary for what all that they do. And I spoke to the women in the congregation. I mean, I just thank God for the things and the people, like you said, the doors that he's opening. I'm
Opening.
expecting so much more because I do know that, and I believe in my heart that there is way more work to be done when it
Yeah.
talks about breaking the silence. So I'm just
Mm.
excited, Janice. And yes, I'm definitely gonna be running to you and telling you.
Oh, wow. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for allowing God to use you
Yes.
in such a time as this. I mean, this is so needed. And just think about how many people would have been set free years ago if people felt free years ago of telling their story. All
Yep.
the years has passed by, but guess what? If that person is you, it's not too late. It's not too late. Reach out to Ena Friday. She's on Facebook. And as she gave you where you can get her book from. If you can't, you can reach out to me and I'll tell you how to get in touch with her. But if that person is you, tell yourself today, I'm going to break the silence. I am going to be free. So many people walk around with low self esteem, so many things, and just in bondage. Don't do yourself like that trying to protect somebody else. Break the silence. Ena, this was awesome. This was an awesome interview. I know without a shadow of doubt because I only do these podcasts twice because, I was trying it out.
Mhm.
And I said, I want to have a guest once a month. I said, but God, every guest, I want you to give that guest to me. Lead me. If somebody reaches out to me, that don't mean because they reach out and say they want to be on my podcast that I'm gonna say, oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
No, I'm gonna pray about it and
Mhm.
make sure that this is a God. And I know without a shadow of doubt, God had given me you. And I know without a shadow of doubt that this is a God thing. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. And if you're listening to this episode, don't just keep it to yourself. You might not be a victim. Share it. You never know the person that's walking around smiling,
Mhm.
looking happy on the outside. It might be for that person. Just continue to share because you never know. You might, well, I don't know anybody. You could buy this book for somebody.
Mhm.
You might know somebody that need healing. Purchase the book. Give it to them as a gift that they'll be a blessing because we have got to break the silence. We have got to break the silence because it's just going to keep going year after year after year after year. So do that. Share this episode and may God bless you. Ena, I thank you so much once again. But I want to say to you, Queens, and thank you for continuing to rock with me. And I want to leave you with this. I always tell you, always try to leave a person better than you found them. You go and have a fantastic day and be blessed. Be blessed.